Dale Murphy fans are from everywhere. Superstation TBS broadcast Atlanta Braves games into homes all across the country. In places where you might not have had a local team, you had the Braves. And a Braves game in the early 80s might as well have been called The Dale Murphy Show. Of course, Dale himself wouldn't call it this, but us kids from back then, we know. So he became the hero of many who geographically shouldn't be fans at all. To a whole generation of young kids watching TBS across the country in the 80s, he was their guy. He was our guy. And what a guy he was. With no reason to be humble, he was. In an era where dishonest means could have helped his career, he was genuine. And all these years later, as us TBS kids, we're all grown up now with kids of our own, we inspire those kids with tales of Dale Murphy. And we don't need a Hall of Fame to tell us that we found a worthy hero on television all those summer nights ago.
All right, we are here live, and that is better than any intro I could do. Good morning. This is Daniel Horine, artist and owner-creator of Popfly Pop Shop. Say hello, Daniel.
Good morning, everyone.
And, of course, we have, as Daniel calls in this Popfly, Murph himself. Is Dale still with us?
He is still with us.
There he is. Say hello to your fans, Murph. Oh, I think we got a mute thing going on. If you are new to the Popfly universe, what this is, it is a comic book style cover. It is not a comic book. It is a art cover, and it is only available until Sunday, and then it is retired forever. That is this week's cover. There is an autograph option and also a specific inscription option. So just go to popflypopshop.com to get all that info. Mr. Dale Murphy, how does it feel to be the first 3-time cover of Popfly?
Oh, we got some audio issues here.
Okay, how about we'll keep chatting until we can figure that out on your side. Daniel, oh, you can see the frustration of modern technology here. Harder.
Do you want to try to pop out and pop back in, Murph? All right. Testing 1, 2, 3. Can't hear you. Maybe exit the studio and we'll click the link and come back in, perhaps. Evan, are you there still?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Help.
You can hit a Kurt Schilling splitter, but we can't get that.
All right, Evan, I'm gonna try to go behind the scenes here and see if I can figure out something.
Yeah, you guys do that. So as they're doing that, I'm gonna talk some little baseball while Daniel and Dale Murphy work on stuff. So we have last night the Carlos Correa huge contract signing, and as a baseball fan, I got to tell you, this one excites me because what we have is the like apex hatred of the Dodger fans from the trash can scandal. Where does he go? He goes to the Giants. You can't write a Hollywood movie like this. Guy is going to be hated for the next 13 years by Dodger fans to the max. Dale, are we back?
I don't know. Am I back?
All right.
Yeah.
You know what happened? I've just figured it out. I had my Bluetooth on, and it was going to some headphones around here.
Oh, so we're glad to have you back because the less of me talking and the more of you talking is better. How does it feel? You are the first 3-time cover of Popfly. What's your reaction to that?
I couldn't be more excited. Just getting to know Daniel and following his work, and now being able to be a 3-time Pop Flyer. What can I say? I mean, it's weird to say I love these works that he's done of me. It is. I love so many of them. I mean, I love them all. I do have some of my favorites, but you know, when you reached out to me, Daniel, said we want to do another one, I was like, oh, that's going to be a blast. So
Wow.
I'm just honored, and I love the work. I love the little shout out to the TBS kids, Daniel.
That's us.
It's been, I know I say this all the time, but I was just in Atlanta, and met somebody, and they go, hey, big fan. I go, where'd you grow up? And I know it's not going to be the Southeast, you know. It's not going to be Atlanta, but I mean sometimes it is, but I could tell this gentleman didn't have a Southern accent, so I was interested to, you know, see where he was from. I said, so where are you from? He said, Minnesota. And he says, yeah, I'm a Twins fan and a Braves fan because of TBS. So
wow,
it's really it's been a fun journey or experience as years have gone on, and social media has you know, picked up, and all these things, and traveling around the country to get to know the TBS kids and the impact you know, our broadcast had on the game, growing fans, not only fans of the Braves, but because of where they were at, sometimes they're Braves fans, but sometimes they just really became baseball fans. I talked to a guy from Houston. No, actually I can't remember where he's from originally. I think he might have been from Nevada, but he moved to Houston. And he said, I have Houston Nationals season tickets because I watch TBS, you know. So Ted Turner and our broadcasting team back then they just don't get enough credit for growing the game of baseball. And I mean, it's a remarkable story, and so it's fun to be a part of it. And it's fun now to have Daniel do you know, this pop fly and shout out to the TBS kids. It's really fun, and I really appreciate it.
Let's reset that for maybe the millennials and the Gen Z, that, you know, we didn't have MLB apps back then. And even I was an Angels fan. I remember listening to Angel games on the radio, like in the garage, because they weren't on TV. And so talk about Murph going to away games, and those fans literally, they watched you on their home TV, as that was the only option of the game to watch during that era.
Yeah, it was really strange feeling, because it was a new thing, and you know, we started playing better. Of course, 82, but I can't remember the year Ted put the Braves on TV. I'm guessing 76-ish, 77, around there. And we just didn't really play that well, but he said, I'm going to broadcast every game. And then when we started doing better, 80, 81, the strike year, but we finished around 500, and then 82, of course, getting off to the great start the first 2 weeks. All of a sudden it became a thing at the visiting ballparks. I mean, we noticed it at our hotel. All of a sudden started, you know, just was alive with Braves fans. And if we'd go to the West Coast, people introduce themselves. I remember someone saying, you know, we're from Alaska, but, you know, San Francisco's the closest city we can get to watch you play. So yeah, it was hard to explain, except all of a sudden it was just like we came out of the woodwork. And you know, things were great in Atlanta, but man, when we went to St. Louis, of course, you know, the St. Louis Cardinal fans are legendary and so supportive. And then all of a sudden our hotel, and even in the ballpark to a certain degree, of course, you know, you could hear Braves fans. And so it was really, really exciting. And now being older and being able to reconnect, so to speak, with that, those memories and people that, you know, I just can't, I talk about it all the time. I really do, but I just can't, I can't tell you how heartwarming it is. You know, I'm on social media a lot, as you guys know. Well, not a lot, but I'm out there. I know a lot of the 82 '80s Braves guys aren't out there as much as I am. I wish I kind of have an idea. I always think it would be fun to go take some of these guys to a small town in Idaho and just meet at the local Dairy Queen and just say something, like we're here. And so I want my teammates to experience the stories, that I hear. And it's remarkable. People say, what's Rafael Ramirez doing? He's my favorite, or Glenn Hubbard, or, it's so cool to hear, every night after dinner, if I did my homework, I got to watch, and it was really just a great blessing and chance to be a part of a really unique thing. Ted didn't really obviously invent cable TV and satellite broadcasts and all that, but he figured it out as he did. He kind of, he had some ideas, some worked, some didn't, but this one worked. And baseball, I'll say this, and what it proved to me is baseball just needs exposure. People need to see the game, get involved in it over a long period of time, figure out like it's a big story. It's like reading a 1,000-page novel. You take 162 games and there's great storylines throughout the months of the year. It's a great game. It just needs exposure, which which is happening to a certain degree, but it used to be easier when it was just us and the Cubs and your local channels.
Yeah.
It's a little bit tougher now, but I know I get long-winded when I start talking about this because it has such an impact on Nancy and I and our family as we, go around the country, and we're very thankful for those days. They were fun.
Yeah. To your point, I remember being a kid, TBS on, and watching the game in my parents' living room, and you're at bat, you had my entire focus, and I was just there, like whatever if you would just like adjust your bat, then I would adjust my fake bat. If you were on second and they would cut to you, I would do exactly what you're doing. So just mimic everything that you're doing there, and just like that was such a moment, like just a captive audience, to that game, and just no pressure, but watching your every move, Dale. Like,
well, it was. It's hard to fathom while you're that age on TV what's really going on in the living rooms of America. You're just, but now I'm removed, and I talk to you guys and hear your stories like that. And Evan, I think you said you were listening to was it the Angels? Are you an Angels fan?
Yeah, like on a radio in a garage because there's no TV games.
Yeah, but you can see the games on TBS. I mean, it's just, it's mind-boggling to think, and that's why I'm so thankful, to reconnect in this way. I mean, social media, I don't know if it's going to be a net negative or a net positive when we're all done, but I think there's a lot of positives, and it's fun to reconnect in this way via social media and technology. Because I knew to a certain extent, but I got to say, every year that I'm done retired, it continues to blow me away. And then, like when you share that, Daniel, I remember imitating batting stances and things on the game of the week. But that was one game,
right?
one game a week, and now to think we were on, I don't think he did every single game, obviously, but 140, 150 times. I mean, that's an amazing thing, and to be in people's homes that often, and if we're not good, sometimes it was just on in the background. I mean, that's kind of baseball. That's kind of the way it is. You just kind of put it on. But and I have to say this because I always include this: our announcers brought a hometown broadcast to whoever was watching, and I think that's the point of hometown broadcasters is, people. They're rooting for the home team, and they know us better than the game of the week people, which was still happening. when I played. But, you know, I didn't know Joe Garagiola personally. I wasn't with him every day like I was with Ernie, Skip, and Pete. You know, they were part of us, and they did a great job. And I don't know, it's been a great journey. Very, very thankful for it. Very thankful.
Yeah, the two TBS icons of the '80s would be you and Ric Flair, I think.
Hey, I just saw Rick about a month ago, and
oh, I love this.
Yeah, sometimes our path. I mean, I've been with him a few times actually. Our paths will cross at an autograph show, and I just got to throw this little anecdote out there. It's just in New York. This was about a month ago. Ric Flair's line for people for waiting, probably had 1,000 people in it.
Wow.
I mean, It was, but anyway, in the New York thing, the night before, I passed a room, you know, we were signing stuff, and the guys get there early and sign stuff. And I walked by and I said, "Hey, Rick." I said, "Hey, Rick." He looked up and, you know, I said, "Hey, Dale Murphy here." He said, "Hey, Dale Murphy, hitting those home runs in the '80s." And, so he's been really nice to me. And yeah, it's, you know, of course I knew who Ric Flair was. I wasn't a huge wrestling fan, but yeah, people have connected us too for the '80s, and that's been fun too. And wrestling was a big part of TBS, as you know too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Ric Flair just wrestled his final match a couple months ago. Murph, can we get you back at Truist for maybe another farewell season?
One more.
One more.
Oh man, it's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be pretty. People say
Ric Flair and Dale Murphy. It's good.
People say, "Murph, we just want to watch YouTube. We don't want to." I just saw, who was it? The hockey player. Is that a true story? I thought I saw a headline this morning. I want to say Jaromir Jagr. Their team, he's part owner or something. He's 50 years old. Someone said he suited up because their team's really hurt, and or there's a flu going around and they're shorthanded. So he put the skates back on. He's 50 years old. I don't know. I wish I could. I'll tell you, every day, Daniel, I wish I could put that uniform on and play.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man.
Mm-hmm.
Well, hey, if you're just joining us or if you're enjoying it, if you have a question you want to ask Murph himself, go ahead and submit that question. And if Daniel gets to it, you'll get a Pop Fly giveaway later. Daniel, if we could go back to the print of this week, and again, this retires on Sunday. You can get it on popflypopshot.com. There's an autograph option. There's also an inscription option. Daniel, this just screams fan piece to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Pop Fly was never a thing. I could still see you making this and just having it like in the office. Your joy bleeds out. Can you just share your heart behind this?
Sure. And even before Pop Fly was a thing, I did this. I know that, Evan, when we were growing up, I had a Cal Ripken Iron Man. It was literally like an Iron Man Cal Ripken I had drawn when I was, 10 or 11, hanging up in Evan's room, and pictures of Fernando Valenzuela that I had drawn. And so, yeah, I've been waiting for Pop Fly to catch up to me for all these years. But this piece for me, it's very much how do I say this? It's a piece for me, and it's a piece for the TBS kids. The first two were sort of concept pieces, kind of focused on a moment or an idea. You had the Power Alley one, kind of, obviously focusing on that very iconic '80s poster. And you had the reverse negative card that was kind of focused on that upper deck card. Both I kind of consider concept pieces, but Murph needed a hero piece, as I call it. That's less about the concept and more just like, here's our hero, here he is. And this is very much representative of my experience as a fan, and just here's our guy. My favorite uniform in all of Major League Baseball is the early '80s Braves home jersey, which you've got there, right front and center. And I love the early or late '70s Braves uniforms as well. But when you went to Philadelphia, I suddenly became a Phillies fan. And when you went to Colorado, I suddenly became a Rockies fan. And turns out I'm a Dale Murphy fan, more so than a Braves fan. And so this was my experience. I was, and as Evan knows, he was there. I was a follower of the career, and for me to make it was important to me to do a hero piece, a career piece, not just a moment, but just bookend to bookend. Showing that career there, and just a tribute to the experience of the TBS kids and the guy who made it that experience for us.
In your fandom comes through, and I think that's why people resonate with the art. Is you're not an artist who happens to do baseball; you're a true fan. Dale Murphy, I'd love to get your response to that. Like, Yankee fans are Yankee fans to the point where they don't even have player names on the jersey. Yeah. And then other fans, like my son is a Cody Bellinger fan, so he now likes the Cubs. So what's your response to both of those different types of fandoms?
Yeah, I really appreciate that, Daniel. And I love the fact that, I'm a Brave. I mean, through and through. But the reality is I did play in Philadelphia and I did play in Colorado. And so I appreciate the fact that there's references there as well, because a small part of my career, but a good experience. And I appreciate the fact that you mentioned that, Daniel, that you were a fan of mine. And some people in Atlanta still are not, at my restaurant, I have one picture of me, it's a little tiny one about this big with a Phillies uniform. And then one picture of me in a Rockies uniform. But I appreciate the fact that you mentioned that, Daniel, that, I just went to Philly and you were still and you're pulling for me and the Phillies. I don't know. I think that's and that's interesting you say that about Cody Bellinger, because it's a fan of the game. I appreciate fans that are diehard loyals that don't root for anybody else. I get that, and I appreciate that too. I guess we need all kinds of fans to watch this game. But I hear that occasionally when I go to Philly, Daniel. People, again, I didn't really realize, but people are like, no, I didn't play there that long. I didn't do all that well, but they were like, no, you were one of us. We were excited about that. And so thankful you came. Rockies was a very interesting experience. Their inaugural year, 80,000 people in Mile High that first game. and so that was an experience I'm so thankful for. But I appreciate the fact, Daniel, that you put me in different uniforms on this one, because I think, with the Braves and TBS, you could have just focused on the Braves. That would have been great. But I appreciate as part of my history, and a part of my history that I appreciate is to play in other cities. And I appreciate you following me around and being a fan of those other teams all of a sudden. That means a lot to me, and I really, really do appreciate that. And you can enjoy the game, have your favorite team, and still appreciate the game of baseball and everybody's journey. And I've got to throw this in about Cody Bellinger. I'm a big fan of Cody Bellinger's as well, and I'm really pulling for that guy. Yeah. I know his time in LA was some highs and some lows. So I just wanted to throw that out. I'm pulling for that guy. And I don't know. I like I said, I appreciate the different parts of my history that are on this issue, Daniel. Thank you.
Yeah, that's actually how I became an Angels fan. I was a Fernando fan, and the narrative was Tommy burnt his arm out, and the Dodgers cut him loose after running him into the ground. and the Angels gave him a shot. And so I saw him pitch for the Angels on a very short career, and he signed my ball at an Angels game, and that launched me into Angels fandom forever. And so I want to pop fly with Fernando on the Orioles and the Angels.
Hey, you've done a Fernando Mania, right, Daniel?
Yeah. El Toro. That was the title of that one.
Was it El Toro? Okay. Yeah. So now I haven't looked at it closely. Maybe you have this little, what do we call an Easter egg in there?
Mm-hmm.
But next time, if you do another Fernando, I've talked to some Dodger fans, and could you put a little, maybe put 34 cents? Was that his number? I think it was 34. Mm-hmm. And then put a little retire 34. His numbers should be retired.
Yes. You are absolutely right.
That's a good word.
You know the story. The story is his number isn't retired, but nobody gets to wear it. It's interesting. Anyway, I'm getting off on my fandom. I'm going sideways here. Sorry.
No, you're not at all. I think this morning is about fandom, and actually his fandom for you is really what launched the Pop Fly universe. The first print was not actually a Pop Fly; it was just called Kaboom, I believe.
Oh yeah.
Can you guys share the history of this wonderful piece?
Well, yeah, I love it. I think Daniel just started talking to us and had this concept. I love this one, and it's got, like you mentioned, your favorite uniform, and a lot of people in the 80s love that white uniform.
Yeah, it's something about it. Colors are one thing, but the true art is in the ratio of the colors, and the ratio of this is just chef's kiss. But this one I consider this like proto Pop Fly. I got to know you and Nancy at the MVP Experience, DaleMurphy.com, at the MVP Experience a couple years ago, and got to know each other. And then Nancy saw a version of this that I had put on Instagram, and kudos to Nancy. She says, maybe we should do something with that one of these days. And I am like, yes, let's get on it. And so that led to this. We did a limited edition of 100 of these prints, and that was it. I thought, okay, my artistic zenith has been reached. I am done. There's no more left for me to do in this world. And I had signed all these, and I had mailed them to you, Murph, to sign them. I'm like, and I wrote you a note saying, I can't believe I'm sending you my autograph. But this was great. It got a good positive reaction, and there's lots of ingredients that kind of led up to Pop Fly, but this was a major one. So I did a couple other pieces in the style because it was just a lot of fun. It spoke to me as a fan, as an artist, as an inner kid with responsibilities, so it was just. Yeah, this was one of those main ingredients of Pop Fly. So I was super thrilled to do this and look back on this fondly. And thank you to you, and thank you for Nancy.
Well, Nancy is always leading the charge here over here. I'm just holding on for dear life. But yeah, I just love it. The Kaboom in yellow. I mean, it's interesting, Daniel. You'd say that about the ratio of colors. I'd never thought about it in that way, but there is, it's just, I don't know. I love that. We got it up in the restaurant, and I love that. I don't think we're done with that image. Maybe in some other iterations. You know what I mean, Daniel?
Absolutely.
All right.
I love it.
Well, there's also been further involvement with you guys, the Tops project. I think it's crazy to me that there's still new Dale Murphy baseball cards coming out, and that's got to be you get a kick out of that. Can you talk about the reaction of how this project went and how you guys work together?
Yeah, I think when they started doing the artist projects, I think I reached out in some way through a couple different connections to the Tops people and said, hey, if you do another one of these, because they had done one. Daniel, I think you helped the artist a little bit. I think he reached out to you,
Yeah.
he or
Bobby
she.
Hundreds, yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, and so they reached out to Daniel on their second, I think it's called Artist 100. Is that what it's called, Daniel?
Project 100, yeah, Project 100.
Project 100. And so they reached out to Daniel. Daniel, again, just went to work. And I think he, again, what can I say? Nancy and I love it. The whole family loves it. And we've had a great response to people. And it's fun. It's fun to be in the card format. It's really fun.
So Daniel, it's one thing for you to do your own creation of like a pop fly. How does it feel to do Dale Murphy, but to have that word Tops endorsing it?
It's absolutely wild. Like, as you know, Evan, this is how we consumed cards. You and I sat on your bedroom floor trading Tops cards, and Tops was the cards to have. There was Score and Fleer and Donners, but they weren't as great as Tops. So that kind of defines the card, the whole industry. And to be here 30 years later with my name, Murph's name, and a Tops logo on a card is absolutely, it's still surreal. Like it still hasn't found its place in my brain yet of how I feel about it. It's just all kind of nebulous and exciting. But it was awesome to have, Murph in my corner, as soon as the world got wind of the Tops project, Dale sent an email to his Tops contact. We got to get Daniel on here. And so it just meant so much to me. And then to actually have it come to fruition later was awesome. And my first conversation with the rep at Tops was, I would love to do this project. However, my one caveat, I have to do a Murph card. That's gotta be on there.
Dale or no deal.
Dale or no deal. Yes. No Dale, no deal. That's what the shirt says.
I like it.
And they obviously went for it, and got to talk to Murph ahead of time, telling him about the opportunity, asking him if he was okay with it, and also getting him involved in this because I asked what's an element of your career that you haven't seen much of or at all in cards. So he mentioned, the back-to-back MVP. There's not a lot of cards featuring that moment. That's quite an accomplishment. So I consider this a collaboration here with Tops because I made that the centerpiece of the parallel card there, a very literal back-to-back MVP there in a power alley, but it also has references to it as well on the main one up there at the top, back-to-back MVP. So it was a lot of fun. It meant a lot, and it continues to mean a lot. And I am absolutely honored that when my son retires, he can hold the Tops card in his hand, and it has his dad's name on it, and his dad's favorite player, and it just have it mean something to him.
No, that's so. Daniel, explain what we're looking at here. One is the base card. One is a little more exclusive.
Yeah. So I had the opportunity with Tops. They did for the artist. They gave the opportunity to do a base card, which is what you see on the left, and then they said you can do a parallel. Now, what typically an artist will do for a parallel, well, they'll make different parts of the original art a different color or shiny or foil or whatever.
Yeah.
I thought here's what could be my one and only moment to do 5 cards for Tops. So if I'm going to have 5 cards for Tops, I'm going to stretch it to 10 cards for Tops. And so instead of just doing variations on a theme, I'm gonna tell a bigger story. I'm gonna do separate artwork, and so that was a tough job to do this on top of Popfly, but here is my moment, and I was gonna seize it, and so I did these kind of, I look at them like companion pieces. That one makes sense when you have the other. They work on their own, but they kind of tell bigger, more complete story when you have them together.
Great, thank you. I love the parallel piece, like you said, literally back to back images.
Mm-hmm.
That was really clever. I really appreciated that little design feature, I guess you'd call it. That was clever. That was good.
Thank you. I think one of the fun things about the project that I like to do just as an artist is, learn as much as I can about whatever I'm depicting, and then try to forget it all and envision it as if I had no context. Like if I just arrived on the planet yesterday and I heard the word back-to-back MVP, what could that mean? And so that's been a lot of fun, like interpreting the Big Red Machine in that way. All the nicknames really. And just this concept as well, back-to-back MVP. Like what could that mean in the visual language of the hyperbolic visual language of comic books if you had no context whatsoever?
I gotta say, I think I mentioned this before, but that Dave Parker Cobra with the smoke depicting a cobra. Oh, I just that one that's one of my favorites.
Thank you. It's funny. I'll do a little brief mention of that one. It's funny how, at least my artistic process has been that like art work inspires other work. I wasn't just something like how could I depict Dave Parker? I just do a lot of work, and then actually doing of the work, inspires more work. And so I had done a Dave Parker, but it was just him in kind of that high contrast black background, and I didn't know what to do with it. It just kind of sat there for months. And then I was doing a Dick Allen piece, working on that, and he had a cigarette in his hands. And so as I was drawing the cigarette smoke wafting, I was like, that's it. That's exactly so I stopped Dick Allen. I went back right to the Dave Parker and finished that piece. And I think that's really descriptive of at least my creative process. Is that right there? Just do the work rather than thinking about it. Do it, and the ideas come from the actual doing rather than sitting on a toadstool and pondering.
Well, that's a great lesson. I mean, it's a great lesson for all of us, or whatever we do. I really believe that whatever we do in life, there's probably a creative process to it. Mm-hmm. And it probably makes whatever we do. I mean, you not only create art, which I like to do too. I love to doodle and whatever. What was I going to say? But whatever we do in life, there's probably a little. It'd be more enjoyable, be more fun. You'd be better at it if you tapped into that creative side. But what I wanted to say was, that's a great statement you made, that it really just comes from doing the work and not just sitting there and waiting for something to pop.
Absolutely.
Very, very seldom does that happen, right, Daniel? Would you say that?
Absolutely.
It's work, and I just love to hear you say that, because I appreciate, all creative processes. But I think about music, and you hear a song and you're like, man, that just sounds so natural, so good. And then I love to read, liner notes and backstories, and it's like, it was hard work.
Yeah.
I guess that's what I'm saying. It was work, and but it was fun, and I don't know what I'm trying to say, but
no,
I really appreciate you telling us about your creative process. I think it helps all of us.
Yeah, thanks. And it's me. I'm actually really passionate about that, because I think for a long time I would, for better, well, actually for worse, I would guard the creative process. If people discovered that art was hard and a struggle, it's like, well, I thought you were artistic. I thought you were the creative one. It's like, no, there's a lot of trial and error. There's a lot of like figuring out like what works, what doesn't work. And that comes from doing the work. And there's, and I say this all the time, sorry if you've heard it 10 times, but there's a fantastic quote from an artist that I love. His name is Chuck Close. And he says, inspiration is for amateurs. The rest of us just show up and get busy.
Yeah.
And that's really what changed art for me is like stop trying to shield the world from discovering that art is hard and it's a struggle and it's not easy. Just kind of open it and saying, it's hard and it's not always great. It's not always what I want it to be, but here it is, and it's a struggle. And I've been, the older I get, the more vocal I've been about that is how important it is to me, because I think that as people get older, it's harder and harder to do those creative things, to finish that great American novel in your drawer, to finish that, to learn that software, to whatever that creative endeavor is. But just showing up and starting it and just finishing it, whether it's what you want it to be or not, like done is beautiful, done is perfect. And that's been my motto for, the last several years.
I love it. And I'm familiar with Chuck Close's work too. Love it.
Oh, great. Yeah. He's wonderful. Wonderful.
I think, that's great. I've heard some similar quotes about, I can't remember, but just the creative process. Like you say, you just get down and start and go. And thank you, Daniel, for sharing that. I really appreciate that.
Sure.
Yeah, well, this is a finished product that is available on popflypopshop.com. It is only available until Sunday, and then it is retired forever. You can't buy the Kaboom anymore. You can't buy the Topps cards anymore. You can't buy the 2 Dale Murphys before this, or Cobra, but you can still get this one. This one, just first off, it's the only Rocky depiction so far. So no Larry Walker or Todd Helton yet. It's Murph that's in the Rockies uniform.
Yeah, that's right.
This makes me just want to have like a bowl of cereal and like Saturday morning cartoons vibe to me. I love it. Daniel, are there any? Is there a Murphy question that you wanted to get to from any listeners?
Sure. Let me dig in just a little bit though to what you said here. The Saturday morning cartoon is absolutely it. In terms of the colors, I wanted. This is a hero piece, and I wanted to bring people back to 1987 or 82 or wherever it is. But that childhood, I wanted to drive in the primary colors, the red, blue, yellow here, and just kind of evoke those childhood memories with that. And there are also a couple, I don't know if you call them Easter eggs or not, but kind of allusions back to the previous ones and tie them all together. You see that 3 logo in the top left for all of them, and the first one and this week's has that A Worthy Hero banner on it on the bottom right, and some of the price tag here on the top right is the same that we see on the Topps cards as well. So I wanted to kind of bring all these elements here, have one remind you of the other, and then we have them all together. It kind of helps tell a more cohesive stories that this is a career, not just these isolated moments. As far as questions, there is a lot of them, not surprising. There is a ton of love for you, Dale Murphy.
Thank you.
So we will, you know what? I'm going to go for the aesthetic question here. Steph Getty, she asks, what was your favorite home uniform? Red pinstripes, the jersey with the feathers on the sleeves, or the 82 powder blue, even though that was an away jersey, or the last jersey that's currently worn? So what was your favorite uniform to wear?
That's a great question. I think, I'd probably go with the baby blue road 80s. It probably wasn't my favorite. Well, that's a good question. What was my favorite at the time? We didn't really know that baby blue was going to depict the 80s so much. But I've seen it so much since I retired. I probably just would lean that direction. Having said that, I love the uniform change in the mid to late 80s when we went back to the Braves Tomahawk and the old traditional Milwaukee, etc. Braves uniform. But there's a special place in my heart on the feather jersey, feather on the sleeve jersey. Hank hit his, Hank broke Babe Ruth's record in that jersey, and it's just not out there a lot. You know, the Braves have brought it back, and the Braves have even wore throwback uniforms occasionally. And when they wear that jersey with the feather on the sleeve at home, man, my kids and, you know, everybody goes crazy about that. A lot of people, you know, love the 80s white jersey. That's the, you know, home jersey. That is their favorite because it just reminds them of, you know, TBS and watching those games. But I broke in, you know, that wearing that jersey with the feather on the sleeve was a special moment for me. It means, you know, the time I broke in, and it's the uniform Hank wore, and it just has a special spot, you know, in there for me. I love that feather on the sleeve uniform.
Yeah, me too. I used it on the on this piece as well. Top left there. I love it as well. It was a toss up for me between the red pinstripes and that one, but that feather is something special.
Yeah, the red pinstripe was unique. It would have been an okay jersey, okay uniform. I think Ted was trying to get red, white, and blue. You know, he wanted to be America's team.
Wow.
And but the problem with the red pinstripe uniform, if you go back and look at the images, and I know you've noticed this, but we still had blue shoes and blue stirrups, and kind of a hat that didn't quite fit the red pinstripe. If we had blue sleeves, to me it just didn't work. If we were going to do red pinstripe, we needed to do red shoes, red socks, red sleeves, and then some kind of hat that matched the red pin. But if you go back, and so that's why that is not necessarily my favorite. We were in a transition. We couldn't figure out, whoever was designing uniforms, it hadn't hit them yet. It hadn't hit yet. And the red pinstripe I think we had the small A hat, blue shoes, blue stirrups, blue sleeves. It just didn't work for me.
It was one of the teaser things that I was going to say before I released this print. I'm like, the player I'm going to do next week has worn pinstripes has had pinstripes throughout his career, but people wouldn't normally consider you that. They forget about those red pinstripes, but the Phillies also had some pinstripes, and as did the Rockies as well. So
right.
All three teams you've had have had some iteration of pinstripe uniforms at some point.
Yeah, I didn't think of that. That's interesting. Well, pinstripe, you got to love pinstripes for baseball uniforms if they're done right. You know, it's hard to improve. Actually, I'll just interject this too. When I signed in rookie ball, the hand-me-down uniforms in 1974 were the early Atlanta / Milwaukee Navy pinstripe, which I think is a sharp uniform. Very, very simple. Braves. They had gray road unis and navy blue pinstripe unis on a white uniform. That's what I wore in rookie ball, and I really like that uniform.
Cool. Thank you, Steph. Oh,
Daniel, can I ask a weird question?
Absolutely.
Favorite color? You know, if someone asked me, I think if you asked a lot of people, they wouldn't necessarily come up with yellow as their favorite color. But just looking at my prints and in the background here, I see some of your other ones. What does yellow do? Does it? I know it pops, obviously, but from an artist perspective, you seem to include yellow. Is it a great comment? What's going on there?
For me, that's a good question. I'm talking aesthetics with Dale Murphy. I love it. Let me get this comment off here. For me, yellow is a great color to provide a lot of contrast. It's like for me, my artistic opinion and is you got to have a lot of high contrast. And so what I do when I'm making my pieces, I'll often make my pieces black and white, so that I take the color values out, and I can just I mean, the colors out, so I could just look at the tone, how much light and dark I have here. And so yellow is a really great tool to provide a lot of contrast, because obviously there's a lot of dark here. If you can kind of imagine this grayscale, that yellow background and the yellow title on top, that provides a great amount of contrast. So that's going to appear almost white if you get that,
Really?
if you take the color out. And so that's sort of like a tool to create a color, to create a lot of pop, no pun intended, but create a lot of pop there, because yellow is engaging. That's the color of a lot of signs on our streets. They make it yellow to pop out against everything else that we see in the world. So yellow is a great vibrant color, and it also is a tool to kind of help make that contrast. And so you look at this piece here, that yellow design element of the yellow circle behind there, that's what helps make the silhouettes show up. You've got the silhouette of the Phillies on the right, and then a portion of it in the top left. We see those. If I had taken that circle out and it was just a blue background, it's the same color as like the farthest blue back there, those silhouettes wouldn't read as clearly and as quickly without that. So yellow's my go-to color for that.
Well, it just really, whatever the theory is, it works. It's really interesting. I think Murph in a different color. I don't know. I just, and I'm on my phone now, so the images are smaller, but it's just interesting how the yellow just really does pop. I've always heard that yellow cars get in fewer accidents than other cars. Maybe that's because it pops in our brain and we see it, but there's also something that brings that contrast. I just was curious what you thought was in your artistic process.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah, it's a good question too. Same thing with the Power Alley as well. It's like I used yellow rather than showing the silhouette. I use that yellow to bring you forward with that kind of the light cast on your face there in Power Alley and the bat. So that's, in the background is dark. So using that as a contrast tool.
Yeah, interesting. In the reverse negative one, the only thing that is yellow predominantly is the word reverse, and but it ties everything together, and it instantly says, oh, that's the reverse negative. Yeah, I got it. Anyway, sorry, I'm getting what's the word? Esoteric.
I love it.
Is that a word?
It is. Do you have time for one more?
Yeah.
Question? All right. Here's one more question. So you mentioned that, and it was kind of all over the place, that your son was injured a couple of years ago. Someone's asking how he's doing, and if he's still involved in activism, and I want to answer the second part of the question here. Daniel, as a parent of a youngster, what have you learned from Murph as a parent? So how's your son, Sean, right?
Yeah, it was Sean. Yeah, doing well. There's still some after effects of. He was shot. He was during the summer. What year was it? The summer of
2020, I think.
Yeah, a lot of activism and a lot of things going on, and a lot of marches. I'm sorry, Floyd. I think it was.
Yeah, George Floyd. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was that summer. A lot of things started happening, and Sean was in a march in Denver and got shot in the just previously to getting shot. Someone gave him some goggles. Said, if you're going to be out there, wear these. And I believe they were little swimming goggles, and got shot with whatever you want to call it. I can't remember now. Rubber bullet, whatever they were shooting, and damaged his eye. There are still some after effects, but doing well. And Sean and his wife are always, Becca, are always active in a number of things.
That's great.
In their effort to, get us to, just equal equal justice, and when they see things that are unjust, they like to participate, and we support him. He's doing better, but I will say there's still some effects, and but he's well.
That's good. Glad to hear he's well.
Thank you.
That was shocking. It was kind of everywhere at the time. It was absolutely shocking. So the second part is, so Bill also asked me about a parent of youngster, what I've learned from Murph as a parent. For me, in that narration that I did, that kind of led the show, I talked about how we inspire our own kids with tales of Murph, and that's one thing that I just wanted to share with you personally, how your legacy is. Yes, I was steeped in TBS. My son wasn't. However, he hears me talk about you. He experiences your influence through me. The importance about being a good sportsman, and if you lose well, if you win well. And you are his favorite player, little 6.5-year-old who's has long after you retired, but he's heard me talk about you, and he's inspired as a kiddo. He's not a fan of the Astros, but he's a fan of Dale Murphy because of who Dale Murphy is and what he did and how he did it. So huge lessons there, and a legacy that goes well beyond the TBS kids. It's TBS kids, plus TBS kids junior, TBS kids the third. So, but I appreciate that, and yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you.
Well, everyone, we are at the hour. Let's see. We've talked about Murph. We've talked about the 80s and TBS and the lack of streaming. We've talked about Ric Flair, Fernando Junior Mania on the Angels. We did Bellinger. We did Cobra. We did the color yellow. Uniforms. That is a great Wednesday. If we could show that print one more time, this retires on Sunday forever, and then you are forced to pay for it off of eBay. Go to popflypopshop.com. There is the raw option. You can get the autograph option, the autograph inscription option. Just go to popflypopshop.com. They're not for sale anymore, but you can look at some of the older pieces like the Cobra and the other Murphys that were talked about today. Dale Murphy, thank you so much for your time. I think it's important to say, too, that we're bummed you did not get into the hall as Daniel definitely expected. Mm-hmm. We push forward, and we hope that it's not the last chapter of that story, and there will be another chapter that is yet to be written yet.
Thank you. It's always fun to be on with you guys, and thank you for bringing up all the topics. that was fun. Just briefly on the Hall of Fame, thank you to everyone for being supportive, and so happy for Fred McGriff. And on the positive side, I made progress. Made some progress, and it's hard to make progress. So, I'm optimistic, and again, thankful to be on that ballot, and happy for Fred McGriff. And so, thank you. Yeah, thank you, everybody. Thank you, guys. It's always fun to be on with you. And Daniel, again, I'm just so thankful to be a part of Pop Fly number 3. Hey, that's a good number right there.
That's
three for 3. 3 for number 3.
Thank you so much.
No,
a lot of fun. And thanks everybody for joining in. Thank you.
All right.
Well, Daniel, 3 is a good one. That's a trilogy. No Cal Ripken yet. No Bo Jackson. Let's do another Dale. You remind me, like I saw Pearl Jam not too long ago, and they're just like, we don't play the hits. We play what we want to play, and we're at that stage. And you make what you want to make, and people resonate or whatnot because you have artistic integrity. What's up next? What's going on in the Pop Fly universe after this week? Still doing the same. Still almost wrapped up with football season 1. We're on break for this week, but should be back next Sunday. But we've got big plans working with the fulfillment center. We've had some big delays that we're getting on top of.
And just thinking, Audrey and I are thinking of ways we can do things better, bigger, faster, more of. And so just burning a lot of calories, thinking about those things.
Again, those are great struggles. A lot of organizations are struggling with how do we get people to discover what we're doing. And your struggle is how do we do it more efficiently, and how do we show our community that we appreciate them. So those are struggles a lot of people wish they had. I love this piece. Again, if we could show it one more time,
Sure.
it screams fandom. It reminds us that you're a fan when deep down inside, more even than an artist, that this is clearly a fan just sharing his love of a career and of a person.
Yeah.
So thank you for doing something that you care about, because then that's obvious to us.
Thank you. Yeah, this one was a lot of fun, and as I was reflecting on it, it was, the Power Alley one. I was 3 years old when the Power Alley poster came out, 3 or 4 years old. So Dale Murphy was not on my radar then. So the Power Alley piece was, speaking to that moment that I was not like a part of. And then the reverse negative was about Dale Murphy and also about a specific card. This was, this was my piece. And so I was really excited to do it, to, I don't want to say tell my story, but just express my fandom, express my joy as a kid, following her from Atlanta to Philadelphia to Colorado. And thanks for noticing that.
This is one you will regret if you don't get. I promise you that. Go to popflypopshot.com. Get it before Sunday. Just do it now. Don't be like, I'll do it on Sunday, because then you will forget when you start watching football or some other nonsense. Just get it now. Daniel, thanks for about the art.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Good to see everyone. Have a great Wednesday.
All right. Take care.